And this is Supervisor Richard Forster with your supervisor report from our meeting of Tuesday, January 28, 2014. Starting off today under public comment, we had Jim Foley, our Health and Human Services Agency Director, come in and talk about a recent meeting that was held and hosted by Dr. Arnold Zeiderman on mental health services. Good information came out of that meeting. Ultimately, it came down to basically the Mental Health Services Advisory Board will serve as the group to try and ramrod some thinking and funding, possible additional funding for that department. But Jim Foley also sent an email out after that meeting, which I thought was very interesting, that, with the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's more affectionately known as, Covered California is the agency responsible for California. What happens is Covered California takes medical applications and forwards those to Amador County Social Services. Of the 478 applications that were forwarded, the caseworkers at the Social Services Department have processed 257 of those individuals into what is known as MAGI Medi-Cal, which is the expanded Medicaid program in California. So as Mr. Foley says, even though their department is very small, they have processed a higher percentage of claims than 55 of the 58 counties in California. So really good news from our Social Services Department, and want to give them a pat on the back for all the hard work they do with a limited amount of staff. Starting off the Board of Supervisors meeting, the board gave a resolution to Michelle Carney upon her retirement of 20 years from the county. Michelle started out as a assistant secretary type position with clerical assistant 1 in the office of the district attorney, and then moved to the probation department, where she started as a secretary 1, moved through the ranks as a administrative support supervisor, program specialist, program manager, all the way up finishing her career as a finance and administrative supervisor. So that shows with hard work, a person can move all the way through the ranks, and all it takes is a little bit of ingenuity and smarts and a little will to succeed. So anyone can do it. Don't have to sit around and think that it's impossible. Congratulations to Michelle. By the way, she was not at the meeting because of a fall where she injured some fingers, broke some fingers, so we wish her a happy recovery too. Going on, we had Sergeant John Selva in from the Sheriff's Department. He was introduced by our Undersheriff Jim Wagner. Sergeant Selva is in charge of drought, emergency, overall planning. With that, he wanted to talk about the governor's disaster declaration as far as a drought in California. As Sergeant Selva said, the governor's proclamation did not include any funding attached at this time, but what it does allow people to do is go out for USDA Small Business Administration loans. They are moved up in the ranking because of the emergency declaration. That USDA declaration was January 1st of 2014, so it was ahead of the governor's proclamation. What it does is allow those loans to be processed all the way through and into September of 2014. So this will be for people like ranchers that are forced to sell off their herds, but primarily for those ranchers that keep their herds and are required to go out and buy huge amounts of hay. It's for unemployment costs for those people that are laid off, for reduced revenue, reduced sales tax, and higher food costs. So a lot of impacts befall our local ranchers, sheep farmers, but also the farming community in general. The grape community may have lower production because of the lack of water. They may not be able to even water some vineyards because of wells going down or things like that. And that was another conversation, that do those monies allow you to go out and break ground for new wells? Yes, it appears that they do. Other things that Sergeant Selva brought up are the emergency declaration originally only included less than half of the counties in the state. The subsequent declaration by the governor included the majority of the counties in the state, and this declaration by USDA doesn't cover just California. It goes up into portions of Oregon, then it goes all the way across the western United States into going towards central United States with Oklahoma and Texas, about half of those states covered. So this is a big problem across the United States at this time. The farm loans can go out, but there's also non-farm loans that can occur. So that research needs to be done by people if they have issues that are brought on by this drought. We are getting a little bit of rain now, but we have a long ways to go. I think today, before the rain hits, we're in about the 54th or 55th day of no rain in California. We haven't had anything happen like that in our state since 1884. And you can see this drought is being likened to the records that were kept back in the 1500s to the last drought that occurred of this magnitude. Other things that Sergeant Silver brought up is East Bay Mud has been keeping tabs on their lakes and trying to let us know where they're at. Pardee is 85% of capacity, which is considered good at this time. The problem there is while they've been holding water back in anticipation of not getting enough rain, that causes PG&E to be able to not generate enough electricity, so that may impact everyone's power rates as we go down the road. Lake Comanche is 53% of capacity, and the East Bay's capacity is 67% at this time. So with that, we have a long road to go before we get out of this drought, if it's even possible this year. It would have to rain like cats and dogs, basically, to get us out of that. And if this happens, we'll probably end up in a flood situation. So they're reciprocal, but we'll see what happens. So we can use all the rain we can get. Pray for rain. That's all it comes down to. We need it. Supervisor Brian Ornetto gave the report on the recent meeting of the Rural County Representatives of California, the RCRC meeting. As he said, Speaker John Perez presented his views of what's going on in the legislature now, and this is outgoing Speaker John Perez. They're trying to put together a smaller water bond. The original water bond was about $11 billion. There's no appetite for one that big, as Speaker Perez said, so they're looking at a $6 to $7 billion water bond. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will have some meetings starting this week, this Thursday, in Sacramento on their draft economic analysis. Comment period for the listing of the red-legged frog and the yellow-legged frog and other species that are going to affect millions of acres of land, primarily Forest Service land, but that impact will bleed over into private land. Make no mistake, that will happen. That comment period ends on March 14th. The meeting in Sacramento happens on Thursday this week, from 1 to 5 p.m. and 6 to 10 p.m. You can go to that meeting, make comments. I was not able to locate the address quickly, so you can call the Board of Supervisors office if you want that and if you want to attend the meeting. I know at those hearings it's nice to have your comments in a written format so you can present them and then present also your comments to the hearing board. The other issue Supervisor Ornetto reported on was the fair issue, and this involves the Amador County Fair as well as every other fair in the state of California, and primarily those smaller fairs which are at risk of going out of business in 2 to 3 years. Amador has about 3 years worth of funding left before the fair is going to be in big trouble of operating in the future. Issues that are coming up, we're working with the fair industry, but we're also working with RCRC. Tehama County has a possible pilot project, and we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a long road. The governor and the administration do not want to fund fairs, but it's a no-brainer. Fairs make more money than they cost. The last issue was a public hearing, and this was rolled over for about a month to allow the Public Works Committee, which Supervisors Ornetto and Plaz, to go back and look at the limited density owner-built rural dwellings. This is a proposed ordinance. What it does is would not require people to put fire sprinklers in their home, and only for a 2-story or lower house. It gives flexibility. The owner can be the owner-builder. and that's the way you would have to do it to proceed with this. There's no need to conform to current codes, and it recognizes ingenuity. A lot of discussion on this. CAL FIRE and Amador Fire Protection District were at the hearing and indicated the 7A fire standards, many of which were taken out. About 90% of those are good and probably should go back in, and it wouldn't have any detrimental effect on this ordinance. So the committee is going to take a look at that and bring this back to the board in about a month for further discussion and a continuance of the public hearing. With that, I think we're going to go over to a Rome segment. This is Supervisor Richard Forster, 223-6470. Give a call to the board office if you have questions. We're going to Rome.
Check out our new website upgrade. Now, news on demand. Streaming video, a TV set on your desktop. Friendly program guide, and meet the people making the news with our on-demand news interviews. Let us know what you think.